morning. Welcome to the last day of Ignite. I am so impressed by you guys here, 9 a.m., Friday morning after the party. How was the party? Did you go? Was good? Yeah, excellent. Okay, so we are here to talk about how Purview and Microsoft Fabric work together to help you secure and govern your data in the era of AI. And I'm going to try and talk quickly because we've got 30 minutes of demo to take you through to show you the actual capabilities around how we do this. So let's jump in. We all know AI transformation is happening now. You've heard it all week long. 95% of organizations are already deploying or implementing AI today. And all of us, 75% of us are already using AI in our daily work. But only 1% of risk leaders feel confident that they're ready for this proliferation of AI across their environment. And these concerns are adding up. 80% of leaders are worried about oversharing or data leakage. And because of that, almost half of them want to just continue to ban the use of Gen AI in the organization, which will stifle innovation. And only 31% of organizations have built a modern consolidated data platform, and only 25% have implemented a proper data quality management practice. As we know, a modern data platform and proper data quality are both key to great AI. And across 900 different agencies, we're seeing more than 200 updates a day related to regulations and compliance requirements. And this is a lot to keep up with. And when you take all those concerns and you layer them over the environments that we're already working in, here we've got, according to the Microsoft Data Security Index report, data security teams are working across more than 10 different data security tools. And in other reports, across the data platform, it's up to 150 different tools across data integration, data cleansing, data quality, data governance, analytics, and AI. And this becomes a lot to manage. This is why Microsoft Purview has brought together all the disparate tools related to protecting your data into one unified solution across data security, data governance, and data compliance, underpinned by shared capabilities that offer built-in data map and connectors, so you have a single view of all the data across your estate. We've got AI-powered classification engine built in, as well as shared visibility across the platform and a single management portal by which you can come together and do all this. And what this gives you is a complete set of tools across data security, data governance, and data compliance. And Purview is on an active journey to bring this great value across your heterogeneous data estate. Microsoft 365, the Microsoft Intelligent Data Platform, business apps, copilots, and key third-party solutions and applications. And Fabric is on a similar journey, helping you deal with the challenges of all those disparate data platform solutions, bringing together a purpose-built, all-in-one unified SaaS solution that helps your data teams be more efficient and effective with all data projects, whether analytics or AI. And when you bring together the power of these two solutions, you get fewer data silos, fewer seams, and ideally less risks related to the use of data for innovation in the era of AI. And we believe this partnership delivers the right foundation for your teams to responsibly unlock data for innovation. And we see that as a balance between allowing you to seamlessly secure that data and offer that confident activation for that data innovation. Let's start with how we help seamlessly secure. Today, Microsoft Purview already delivers a portfolio of integrated security that gives you built-in protections, consistent enforcements, and helps you detect user risks. How do we do that? Through information protection, we allow you to discover, classify, and protect your information as it moves through and travels anywhere it lives and travels. Through data loss prevention, you can define and apply policies that follow that data where it goes. And with insider risk management, it helps you find those hidden risks in user behavior using AI to create scores around how people are using data, and it'll create alerts for you and scores so that you know how to protect that. And you have adaptive protection sitting at the heart of all of this that brings together the best of each of these tools to help you better proactively protect data. For example, it can adapt a data loss prevention policy based on signals it's seeing in insider risk management. So as user behavior becomes more risky, a policy can be adapted to be more strict to protect that data from theft or loss. We're taking all this great value and bringing it to Fabric and the data assets in Fabric. Words are fun, demos are better. I'm going to invite Keith on stage, he's running now, to come walk you through how we're bringing data security value into the Fabric environment.
Thank you, Joanne. Great. So as part of these demos, so from a framing perspective, I'm definitely going to walk through sensitivity labels in Fabric. Additionally, we're going to talk through something called a protection policy. And then lastly, we'll go into data loss prevention policies within Fabric. So to get started, sensitivity labels. When we think about sensitivity labels, they really help guard sensitive data from unauthorized access, from oversharing, and from data leakage. And so here, when applied in Fabric, we're going to show in the demo how they can actually be applied and used. So here, let me switch to my demo environment. So here, I'm logged in as a compliance administrator. I am using the information protection solution as part of the unified Purview portal under purview.microsoft.com. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit an existing sensitivity label just to show you some of the key settings that we want to enable for a Fabric environment. So here, I'm editing confidential FTE, which is an existing label. You can see there's a parent label, we have a name, et cetera. From a scoping perspective, you can see that we've added a new scope up at the top called Files and Other Data Assets. What does this do? So what this does is it extends the sensitivity label beyond M365 to non-M365 sources, such as Azure, AWS, and Fabric. So that's one key setting there as well. Definitely want that set as part of your label definition. The second setting is to make sure you have access control enabled as well as part of that definition. So once this label has been completed, what you would then do is you would use a publishing policy to make sure that this label is then made available in the environment for users to manually apply within Fabric. So that's sort of labels, getting it published in the environment. So now let's switch over to Fabric, and let me show you a new way where you can apply sensitivity labels. So here, I'm logged in as a Fabric administrator, and what we've done as part of this past week, you have the ability now to apply sensitivity labels at a Fabric domain. So here, I have my Fabric domain named Sustainability, of which I've assigned a workspace called Corp BI. Within the domain settings, you can see we have a new delegated setting called Information Protection. So here is where my confidential FTE sensitivity label shows up. Once selected, it will then be applied to all items in the Fabric domain. So that's in public preview. Please go try it out. So now let me show you other places where sensitivity labels can be applied within Fabric. So here, I'm in a Fabric workspace called Sustainability. You can see that there's a number of Fabric items that are here. For non-sensitive data, such as this Corp Sustainability Lakehouse, this has been labeled with a general sensitivity label. And you can see that by hovering over the shield from a visual tooltip perspective. But with me as the data owner of this Fabric workspace, I know that it's my Sustainability Lakehouse that has sensitive content and my crown jewels. So here, what I've done is I've applied a sensitivity label by going to Settings, sensitivity label, and you can see that confidential FTE has been applied within this lakehouse. Once it's applied, it is then propagated and inherited downstream to subsequent assets. So you can see here on notebooks, confidential FTE, semantic model, and then down to my reports. So here I've shown you how to apply sensitivity labels at the fabric domain, at the fabric lakehouse, and at individual fabric items in order to help manage and secure sensitive content. All right, so in the second demo, what I want to talk through is a policy in information protection that's currently in preview. It's called a Purview Protection Access Control Policy. So what it does is it's helped use control access to items in Fabric where a sensitivity label has been applied. All right, so let's go back and let me show you what one of those policies look like. So here, I am back as a compliance admin in the information protection solution. I have an existing protection policy, which I'm editing here, just to show some of the key settings at a high level. So my protection policy is named Fabric Confidential. Description, protect access to confidential data in the Fabric environment. So step 2 is choosing the sensitivity label used to detect the sensitive items. So when we set up our sensitivity label, it was appropriately configured in that first step, right? We selected files and other data assets, and we configured access control. So this is the label that we want to apply protection on when we discover those labels applied in the Fabric environment. The second is the data sources. Pretty straightforward here. We've selected Fabric in all workspaces in our environment. So here's where we get to the access control piece. So with access control, we have the ability to articulate what users and or groups can have access to the labeled data. We can also specify, do they have read access or do they have full access? And so here we have a group that is under control for the protection policy. So once this is done, we have it turned on, so it's in enforcement mode. So now let's go back to my Fabric environment to see this in action. I need to open up one screen. Here, let me just get this up. Get that in the background. Okay. All right, so here I'm back in my Fabric workspace called Sustainability. As a data owner, I've added a user to my workspace called Data Reviewer. You can see down here at the bottom, Data Reviewer has the viewer role and access to this Fabric workspace. But Data Reviewer is not part of the group, which is under control by the protection policy. So to see this in action, let's go find company-wide emissions, which is a Power BI report. Again, it's been labeled with the confidential FTE sensitivity label. I'll go to share. So this could be the common scenario of I have a data reviewer in my organization where I want input. So I'm using a sharing link, and I've sent that to the data reviewer. So now, let me switch profiles. So I have an edge profile that is set up for data reviewer. So here I'm logged in. You can see at the top right, I am data reviewer. And here's that sharing link which was sent over. So by clicking on the sharing link, it will then open up the Power BI report. So again, because data reviewer has access to the Fabric workspace, they can get into the workspace. But here, this is the protection policy in action because data reviewer is not part of the group that is under control. And to go further, so within my workspace, I can now look in the sustainability workspace because I have view permissions. To the very rightmost column, you can see sensitivity labels that have been applied. Of course, if I try to click any of these that have the confidential FTE label applied, I'll click on a different file, we get access denied. And then of course, if I find an item that's been labeled with the general sensitivity label, such as the scorecard at the bottom, I have access. So in summary, protection policies help control access to items in Fabric where the sensitivity label has been applied. Protection policies also extend Fabric's security and permissions model to help secure sensitive data. Just got to switch my screens. Okay. So let's go to my third demo, and it's data loss prevention. So DLP policies for Fabric help detect the upload of sensitive data to a Fabric lakehouse or semantic models. And so this is, when we think of some of the outcomes, it's the ability to help protect company-sensitive data and prevent oversharing. So let's go back into my environment, and let's go look how the DLP policy has been set up. So here, so previously I was in the information protection solution. Now I'm in the data loss prevention solution. I am editing an existing DLP policy named Fabric. So here we have this DLP policy just scoped to the full directory. From a scoping perspective, we are targeting Fabric and BI workspaces. And here you can see we have 2 workspaces selected as part of the Fabric environment. So then we get to, what are the conditions? What are the conditions that we want to apply and detect for sensitive data when it's uploaded to Fabric? So here, let's edit this DLP rule. And you can see that we have a condition. If content contains the sensitivity label for confidential FTE is one condition. The other condition is we want to look for PII data. So we're using out-of-the-box sensitive information types. We're looking for identity numbers, identity cards, SSNs, all the things that we would look for with PII. If those conditions are true, we have set 2 actions right now. The first action is we want to notify the user through a policy tip to say, hey, we found PII data, please review. Additionally, what we've set up is to send an alert. So here at the bottom, incident reports send an alert to our compliance admins so that they could do further investigation and assessment if this truly was a violation. So that's the DLP policy, how it's set up. So now, let's go back to Fabric. And here, I'm a data owner. And so I'll proceed to upload a Power BI desktop file into the workspace. So this is the workspace where the DLP policy has been scoped, is looking for sensitive data. And let me just switch to the list view. So as part of the Power BI desktop file, we can see the 3 files here. We have the report file, the semantic model, and the dashboard. For the semantic model, you can see that we have an informational tooltip saying, hey, this contains sensitive information. So by clicking here for the full details, we get the title saying sensitive information was found. We've identified policy issues. Here's the policy tip, which we configured in the DLP policy, in addition to the sensitive information types which were identified. So me as a user, I can either override or report an issue if I believe this is a false positive, false negative, et cetera, and I want to get this corrected. Okay, so there's another piece I want to describe. So what we've also done, and as of Ignite, we've announced a new action as part of a DLP policy for Fabric. So here I am back at my DLP policy, and you'll see that under the actions, there's a restrict access or encrypt. So what this is a new action called restrict access. And so when we think about restrict access, there's 2 key scenarios that we're looking for. So the first is the situation where you may have types of sensitive information which you would never want to be uploaded into Fabric. So if that condition is true, you would select blocked everyone. So this is that situation where, again, you may have other controls in the environment, but there's something so sensitive, you just never want it, you want to keep it out of the environment. That's what block everyone would do. The second scenario is you may have company proprietary information where you may also have guest users in your tenant, and you want to make sure that that confidential information isn't shared externally to guest users. So if that condition is true, you would configure restrict access to block only people outside of your organization. So think of restrict access as a stricter policy that is really geared towards extra sensitive content and information. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to show is, we talked about these DLP policies, raising alerts, and activities. So here, I'm going to switch over to Activity Explorer. So now I have my compliance administrator hat on. I want to see activities that are occurring in the environment. So what I'm going to do, you can see there's many activities that go into Activity Explorer. For here, let me filter on Power BI and see some of the things that I would see as a compliance admin. You can see that there's a number of label applied events that have been occurring in this environment. Folks have been either manually applying a label or downgrading labels. And then we have DLP rule match. So this is the event where I uploaded the Power BI desktop file, and then this DLP policy and conditions were true. And so here's the type of information that we're showing in order for someone to then conduct further investigation. For the sensitive information types that were matched in the DLP policy, by clicking here, we can see different confidence levels with regards to how each of the sits were sort of evaluating the data at the time of inspection. All right, so in summary, Purview provides an extra layer of data security which extends Fabric's security and permissions model through sensitivity labels, through protection policies, and through data loss prevention, along with alerting and auditing for seamless security value. So thank you. Joanne.
Thank you, Keith. What did you guys think? Good? Yeah. So we just covered seamlessly secure. Let's shift gears slightly and talk a little bit about how Purview and Fabric together helps you confidently activate your data. And we know confident activation relies on great data governance. According to IDC, without proper governance and security, analytics initiatives are at risk of producing unreliable or compromised results. Does this resonate with anyone? Not really. Yeah? Is it just Friday? You guys haven't had your mimosas yet. But the problem is companies just aren't prepared. Only 11% of organizations report having a strong data governance structure. And we hear this in our conversations with both CISOs as well as CDOs, that they just don't feel ready yet. And the number one requirement or priority right now is to get that data governance practice going. But data governance is not new. It's been around for decades. So why now? Why this resurgence? Well, in the era of AI, we know that that inaccurate data can create false signals in AI. And this can create consequential business results. For example, if you're using data in AI models, as you report your data, as you report your results out to the street and those results are incorrect, you can get a fine from a regulatory body. Also, if you're using a cybersecurity app that's using AI to reason over network traffic, and it's getting the IP addresses wrong, and it thinks that a traffic is a threat when it's not, and it suppresses that traffic, it could actually be suppressing a customer experience. And that's a bad experience for our customers. And then we've got the age-old problem of the time it takes for data scientists, analysts, engineers to find, access, prep, and cleanse data. And this can create weeks to months of delays in innovation, but also dissat amongst some of our sought-after employees and turnover. We don't want to lose our data scientists. And the other thing it creates is shadow innovation. So you and I, if we need data to do our jobs, we're going to go find it, whether it's governed or not. And so this ultimately leads to greater risk for the organization if that data that we're using in our AI or in our analytics is not the right data, it's not clean, we're actually creating more risk for the organization. And what we see is this shadow innovation usually comes from either no practice at all or a governance practice that's been tightly held and centralized by IT. It's too restrictive. And Microsoft, we've been on our own journey over the last several years, shifting from that centralized governance practice to a modern federated data governance practice, where you push the responsibility of the data into the data business owners, sales, finance, and then you provide that oversight to ensure that the policies and the requirements are being met. And so what we deliver, Microsoft Purview, is a modern data governance solution that gives you comprehensive visibility, data confidence, and allows you to unlock that responsible innovation. And what we've done is we've completely reimagined the governance solution within Purview. We brought this into public preview in March. We recently went GA in September. And what Unified Catalog does is it brings all the facets of data governance together under one single unified solution. You have a catalog that gets access for your data consumers, and also serves as a catalog of catalogs, if you will, bringing together a single pane of glass across those local catalogs that maybe your data scientists and data engineers know and love and use every day into a business-friendly catalog. This allows you to apply global enterprise policies across all your data being used, as well as allows you to establish a unified, singular data quality management practice, so consistent rules, consistent expectations across that data being used for analytics and AI. We also have built-in health management tools, so actions and reports that really allow you to put the practice in your data governance practice, aggregating up issues, alerts, things that need to happen to improve the overall health. And then we have native integration with master data management vendors so that you get a complete end-to-end experience across your heterogeneous data estate. And this week, we were very excited to announce additional innovation to help you on your data quality journey. First, new data quality scan engine built right within the Unified Catalog that gives that deeper data quality scanning across your big data platforms, primarily Fabric, Databricks, Snowflake, Google BigQuery, and Amazon. And we also offer the ability to take Purview Analytics into OneLake. And what we mean here is you can take all that rich metadata that's sitting in the Unified Catalog, you can export that into OneLake, point Power BI to it, and do all sorts of gymnastics over that data for deeper data quality discovery and investigation. So again, slides are fun, demos are way better. I'm going to invite Sushma to come on stage and walk you through the new Unified Catalog in Purview. Thanks, Sushma.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for coming in today on a Friday morning. I really appreciate you coming over. Today, I'm going to walk you through our Unified Catalog experience. There's going to be 3 sections to the end-to-end demo here. We're going to start off by looking at data discovery for your data consumers. A data consumer is anyone in the organization, people like you and me that go about trying to do their day-to-day and try to discover data. Catalog management is for your data stewards or your business subject matter experts. This is the other side of the coin where the stewards come in and curate logical concepts for better governance within the organization. The more you empower your stewards to come in and curate the data well, the easier you're making it for your consumers to discover data on the data discovery side. They go hand in hand. The third dimension we'll be looking at is health management. This is for your data quality stewards and your central data office personas to come in and get that bird's eye view of all data quality as well as metadata quality across your entire data estate. With that, I'm going to jump right into the demo. This is our Unified Catalog. This single one-point solution here for all your federated data governance needs. As we were seeing, there is a discovery section here, catalog management, and health management. What I mean by that is you don't have to go into multiple point solutions anymore for your federated data governance needs. It all happens within Purview Data Governance's Unified Catalog. I'm going to start off by showing you our discovery experience first. I come in here as a data consumer, and maybe I'm looking for some data on carbon emissions because I'm working on a sustainability project. I can, in plain words, describe the intent of what I'm trying to find. And now, rather than staring at pages and pages of assets, with not a lot of good names or descriptions, I'm looking at highly curated data products, which have been put in place by business experts who know the space really, really well. So I might find this particular data product here really interesting, so I'm going to click through that. And what I see here is a beautifully hydrated data product. And I say that because this has been put in place by someone who understands how data assets need to come together to solve a specific problem or for a specific purpose. So as a consumer, I can read the description, the use cases, look at all of the different attributes. There's also a data quality score here and shows that it's healthy. So it builds my confidence as I'm trying to browse the catalog to find the data that I need. And then I look at the data assets right here that have been linked to this data product. Let's pause for a moment here to appreciate the diversity of the data sources. We've got Fabric. These are some of the assets that Keith was showing in his demo previously as well. We've also got data coming in from Snowflake, Databricks, and many other sources here, making Purview a true catalog of catalogs. Now, as a consumer, I'm satisfied with what I see, and I want to go ahead with the next step, which is requesting access to this data product. With a single button click, I can now go ahead and request access to all of the assets that are part of this data product. I can fill in the purpose, justification, accept the terms of use, and send this off to the data product owner as part of the access approval workflow. All of this is also part of Purview Unified Catalog. I just showed you how you can, as a data consumer, discover and safely access the data in the Unified Catalog. Now we're going to switch hats to the data governance practitioners or your business steward, data steward experience here under catalog management. The first entry point to it is governance domains. Governance domains you can think of as logical containers for where your business experts can come in and curate the data that matters to them. As a sustainability area lead, I might have a domain called sustainability, which I can see is of type regulatory here. And it is also parented to my corporate functions domain. It has a nice description that folks can read through. And then I can also bring in additional folks in my organization and recruit them to be a part of the data governance practice within my domain by adding them to these different roles that are made available in the solution. The next thing I want to talk to you about is business concepts. Business concepts are the heart and soul of data governance. These are industry standard concepts like data products, glossary terms, objectives and key results or OKRs, and critical data elements or CDEs. We'll go into each of these, but what I want to call out here is that all these concepts are active metadata. What I mean by that is you can drive behaviors such as policies and data quality rules right from the business concepts without actually having to go into the physical data estate. So you're operating at a logical and conceptual layer on top, which abstracts away all of the changes that are happening in your physical data estate. Once you've got your concepts identified, you can govern those and not have to worry about your ever-expanding data estate underneath. Now, data products, we just talked about this and we discovered a few on the discovery side as well. They are logical groupings of assets. They've been put in place by business experts who really understand that space and for a very specific purpose. Then we have glossary terms. These are simple words that you can use to describe the data that you're governing. Objectives and key results help you drive business value for the data that you're governing. And then last but not the least, we have critical data elements or CDEs. Think of these as logically grouped key physical attributes or elements across your organization. These are things that you want to govern with utmost importance. They're your crown jewels. For example, customer ID is often a good use case here for critical data elements. You may have customer ID strewn across your data estate across multiple different assets. This gives you a way to bring all of that together into a logical grouping called critical data element that you can then govern with ease. So let's go into data products and take a look at the same exact data product that we discovered on the discovery side. So now I come in here as a steward, a data product owner, who is responsible for maintaining this particular data product. I can take it down from the catalog, and then I can go into the description, use cases, and edit all of that metadata right here. I can come in here and add additional data assets, update them, remove them, do whatever I need to do here in my day-to-day job. I can link other concepts here like glossary terms, critical data elements, and OKRs. And in addition, what I can also do is manage policies. If you remember, we talked about each of these concepts being active concepts, right? So here is where I can come in and I can take a look at all of the access policies that I have inherited from either my domain or from all my peer constructs like terms, critical data elements, and such. As a data product owner, I may also have additional requirements here on specifying what is the duration of access, or who are the additional approvers that need to be brought into the fold as I'm going through the approval workflow. Or maybe I have additional attestations that I want to include here. All of that is possible right here. I just showed you how simple and easy it is for a data steward persona, a business expert, to come into the catalog, go into their governance domain, and curate the concepts in a way that they know best. Now we'll switch over to looking at the data quality aspect of the product. So if you notice here, each of these domains has a data quality score. I'm going to stick with my sustainability theme, go into the domain that I'm responsible for, and I'll see here that all of the data products here as well have data quality scores. And then if I click into a specific data product, this is the one we've been following along since discovery, I see that I have data quality scores at the asset grain as well. Just a moment here to call out that the different data quality scan types that we support here for data sources are across Fabric, Azure, but also Snowflake, Databricks, Google BigQuery, Synapse, and others. So if I click into one of these assets here, because this is the one I want to check out from a data quality perspective, I land on this nice overview page where you can see that this asset has 9 rules that are actively running on it. There have been 9 scans also that have been run in the last 30 days. And I have 3 actions. It's my to-do list of insights, basically, which tell me what I can do to drive up the scores or to go fix profiling errors and such. Now, profiling has a section of its own where you can see all of the different attributes of the data set and if there are any outliers in that data. You can run the profiles as many times as you need. And then under rules, you can set up data quality rules using our simple out-of-the-box UX here, which has rules like freshness checks, duplication checks, emptiness checks, and so on and so forth. But you can also invoke our expression builder to create your own custom data quality rules. In addition, we also have the suggest rules experience, which helps bring in AI to generate some of these rules for you to take that load off your plate. And then you can schedule these scans as well as run them right there as a one-off scan run, depending on the needs of your business. I just showed you as a data quality steward how you can come in here and have a really simple experience in which you can set up your scans, you can run your profiles, and once the scores have been computed, how they get aggregated from assets through to data products, through to domains. Now we'll switch over to the Chief Data Officer persona. This is the persona that wants that breadth perspective of everything that's happening across the enterprise. For that, we have 3 different experiences in the product. There's controls, actions, and reports. For controls here, you can think of these as standards that you're trying to implement within the organization that then your domains must also adhere to. We have several out-of-the-box controls here, which you can customize to make your own. You can adjust these thresholds for the indicators, the red, amber, green, and then you can also change the underlying rules for these controls to make them your own. And once the controls have been executed, they generate a list of actions. These are actions, again, like a to-do list for your owners to then go act on. You can take a look at this. You can filter it down by specific users that it's assigned to, look at specific finding types, and then click through these to see what exactly it is that you need to go do and why was this flagged. And then bringing all of this together is our reports experience. So here is where we have these out-of-the-box reports. My personal favorite is the data governance report. So if you go in here, you get that breadth perspective of the scores across all of your domains. It helps increase accountability and to have right conversations with these domain owners on what they can do to improve their data quality practices. As a sustainability lead, I could come in here and narrow down to my domain so I can have the right conversations about my specific domain. We also have additional views here for data products in particular. Now, what if I told you you can take all of this data, not just what you're seeing on the screen, but all the metadata that Purview collects and have that exported to your Fabric OneLake instance? That is what you can do with the self-serve analytics feature. You can get the entire semantic model at your fingertips to be able to do your own custom reporting with Power BI. You can party on with your data activator scenarios and all of the cool functionality that Fabric also brings in here. I just showed you how you can use the unified catalog for all your federated data governance needs. It's a single point solution for everything that you want to do within data governance right here in Purview. With that, I'm going to hand it back to Joanne. Thank you. I feel like I have all it.
What'd you guys think? Looks good. We're going to wrap up. Oh. Actually, these were the 3 chapters of the demo she walked you through. So that's it. So thank you for attending today. So excited to walk you guys through how Purview and Fabric work together to deliver a great foundation for responsible data innovation through this tight partnership, and you can expect more integration to come in the future. And we thank you for attending. Here's a list of resources if you wish, and we hope you have a great rest of your Friday. Safe travels, and thank you for coming.